Hello, everyone. Semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Um, let's just jump right into the comments. I see lots of people are here already. Franny is here. Hello, Franny. I'm glad you made it. And Paul is here as well. Hello, Paul. Thanks for stopping by. And the Pharaoh Grandma is here with lots of stuff. I do hope you're feeling better. I have found, this is a good one to talk about right now. I have found that when you're not feeling great, the best way is to just fast for the day, because that will help your body recover. Now, some people can't do that, but I have always found that when I don't feel the best, taking a fasting day makes me feel a whole lot better. We caught a few other live streams I wanted to see. That was fun. Yeah, there were a lot of them out there. Yes, thank you very much. Pop out of the chat, hit that like button, come back in and say hi, whatever order suits you. And Rick is here from Miami. Hello, Rick, Charger Mopar. I hope you're having a great day today. And John is here. Hello, Bob and all. I'm enjoying two 12-ounce T-bone steaks while watching your live. Excellent. You know, there's never a bad time for a T-bone steak. And the only thing better than a T-bone steak is two T-bone steaks. Hi, Bob. Less sniffles. Took my Cerule products and spent some quality time with my blanket. There is nothing wrong with that. I was sitting around thinking how I could show, because the direction of the picture, with my chair blocking the way and my shirt blocking the way, you couldn't really see the two roads that lead to my new property. So I came up with this. The floating bob head will be for today. Of course, it's almost Christmas time, so we have to have the Santa hat on as well. I hope everyone is having a great day. I'm actually looking forward to getting out and finishing some more walking this evening. It's not super nice out. Well, it is. It's very sunny. I can see the sun shining in my backyard. The sun will be mostly down by the time this live is over, but it's 48 degrees out there, and it's supposed to be 60 degrees tomorrow. So in between football games, I plan on getting some laps in, and it's supposed to be 60 again on Sunday. So perhaps I will get to go to a park or something and walk someplace different. Because I know John's been asking about when am I going to do another hike somewhere else. Maybe if I get the yard work that I want to get done tomorrow done, I can get out and get some hiking in on Sunday before the cold moves back in, because 60 degrees in mid-December in Omaha is a very rare thing, and we're going to have 2 days of that coming up here, so hopefully we get that done. Hey, the thing that's been bothering me just a little bit here that I wanted to get you guys' opinion on, did you see, I forget which country it was, but one of the countries over there went ahead and approved this drug that they're trying to get passed for everywhere. It's basically supposed to, shall we say, reduce the emissions of large ruminant animals. I can't say what it's exactly for because, well, YouTube and all that, but I would urge all of you, if you have any kind of a thought at all on this, to call your congressman personally and tell them that you have no interest in them drugging our food supply. Let's see here. Pharaoh Grandma says, I've always liked fillets. beef and bacon in the same place. Yeah. Yeah, I miss those trail hikes too. There's just not a really convenient, and the place I'm probably going to go on Sunday is out to the lake, and it's not like the hikes I did down in North Carolina, because the trail that goes around the lake that's closest to me is a paved trail, but it is almost 8 miles all the way around the lake. So I can get all my walking done in one shot, provided I take my backpack with a couple of bottles of water in it with me, because 8 miles is a long stretch for one continuous walk. The one advantage to going over to the park where by the lake that's closest to me is they do have benches along this trail. So I won't necessarily have to do the entire 8 miles without stopping. Tall Cedars is here. Yeah. Yes, and I'm very leery of it. They've approved it. I believe the story I read is that a country just approved it for use in dairy cows. And I think that's what they're targeting first, is the dairy industry. And I just don't like the idea of giving drugs to animals. I mean, we've seen, without getting too specific, there was a drug that was used, shall we say, recently, that many people had to take if they wanted to keep their job. And I'm not saying there's any relationship whatsoever, but isn't it odd that the number of heart attack deaths in athletes, these are athletes, we've had more of those in the last 2 years than we had in the previous 40. But I'm sure that's just a coincidence as well. So get a hold of your congressman and say, let's just stop drugging everything. And I think they're moving forward with this as fast as they can, because I have a feeling that RFK Jr. is going to try and put a grinding stop to all of this stupidness that's going on with our food supply. Can anybody explain to me why food with no, that hasn't been sprayed down by glyphosate or any of the other stuff that's out there, can anybody tell me why that food is more expensive than the chemical-free food? I just don't get it. Let's go ahead and change this banner down here now. I think everybody knows I'm not a doctor. There we go. Let's say hello to all 7 or 8 of my channel members. They should test the anti-digestive gas drugs on vegetarians and vegans first. That is an excellent idea, Granny. I think that's a really good idea as well. And Justin has arrived. Floating Christmas head Bob. Yes. This isn't really that hard to do. I got a green screen behind me. I found a green towel to lay over the back of my chair to hide the chair from view, and I put on a green shirt. I had to turn it inside out because it had a YMCA logo on the front of it, and that was showing up. So I turned my shirt inside out, so now we just have the floating Christmas head for the live stream today. I thought it was kind of amusing, and again, it gives everybody a chance to take a look and see the 2 roads I'm talking about. This road, both of these roads have names and are maintained by the Terlingua Ranch Estates, which is what I am part of. Franny has made it back. I'm glad you made it back, Franny. And Tall Cedars, we have to talk about it a bit so people are aware of what's going on. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, and that's the big thing here. It's part of why I continue to do what I do. We have to keep talking about everything. not just the new drug for cows or the carnivore diet or keto diet or any of this stuff. We have to talk about all of it, and we have to keep getting the message out there, because you never know when the person that really needs to hear what we're saying happens to catch one of our shows or one of our videos or whatever it is, or it might just be someone we're talking to at the grocery store. You never know who the right person will be, so you just have to kind of keep talking about it. Josephine is here. Hello, Josephine. I hope you're doing well. Also, I'm doing fantastic. It's actually a pretty nice day here in Omaha. I was out once. I'm going to go back out again because it's going to be warm enough tonight to walk. Because let me take a quick look at the weather forecast. I mean, it's been so doggone cold recently. It's not actually supposed to get below freezing until after 9 o'clock tonight. So this will be over at 4:30. The sun will be setting, but I'll still get some walking in. And now they've downgraded Sunday a little bit. They're still calling for 61 tomorrow, but they've downgraded from 60 to 58 on Sunday. But it should be a fairly nice weekend early into next week, and then Wednesday's supposed to go to crap again. But for the first time in a really long time, I think I'm going to be able to get out in the backyard and grind the leaves up. Normally, it's not this nice this late, and the leaves that fall in the backyard, because that tree is always the last one to shed its leaves in the entire neighborhood. There's usually snow on the ground, and I don't get to them, so they just sort of lay out there on the yard. So hopefully I'll get out there tomorrow or Sunday and get those ground up, just so I've got a little bit of a head start on the spring. And Rick's computer crashed again, but welcome back, Rick. I'm glad you're back. And you look great, Bob, healthy and all. Well, thanks. I've lost a lot of weight. As you can see, I've dropped to absolutely nothing below the head. And 52 here, waiting on some rain. Let me take a quick look. It is currently 56 in Terlingua. It's supposed to be actually cool this weekend. High of 57 today, high of 61 tomorrow. But then right back up into the mid-70s on Sunday down at my property. So I'm kind of looking forward to that as well for next year. I am... What in the world is going on here? There we go. Oh, okay. But yeah. But the weather's pretty nice all over right down the middle of the country. The rest of the country is getting snowed on like crazy, which is okay with me. I like snow as long as I can look outside the window or look at it on my computer screen. As long as I don't have to get out into it, I don't mind snow so much. So if you have any questions or comments, now's a really good time to get those in while I look over my notes. Oh, yes. Another thing that I wanted to talk to. You know, we talk a lot. Oh, wait a minute. Granny had a comment in there. I'm a little north of Austin, usually sunny and clear. Okay. I at least know where Austin is. But I touched on this briefly in a video a week or two ago, and I wanted to go over it again because I don't think I said it exactly right. You know, I talk a lot about how we don't actually have to work out to lose fat. And that is absolutely true. We don't have to work out to lose fat. In fact, if you have to work out to maintain your body composition, something is wrong with your diet. All of that being said, I think working out and building muscle is very important for long-term sustainability of not just life, but of everything, because it takes more fuel, more energy, if you will, to maintain muscle than it does to maintain fat. So the more muscle we can get on our bodies, the leaner we will be eating the same amount of food. And if you happen to be a big eater like me, the faster you can put on muscle, the more food you can continue to eat because your body will use more energy just maintaining itself. Now, do you have to exercise to lose fat? No, absolutely not. But I do think it helps in the long run of maintaining. Hopefully, I'm saying that correctly. But anyway, you guys started off with a flurry of comments, and now it's just sitting over there like you're waiting for me to say something prophetic to spark the conversation. But I got nothing prophetic to say today, really. And Rosie Red is saying, just coming in, what is the picture? That is my land in Terlingua Ranch Estates in Texas. That's the land that I acquired in the land swap when I got down to Texas and discovered that I couldn't get to my land that I'd owned for a year and a half. So this is what I came up with. It's slightly different, but it is at least accessible because the roads you see in this picture are maintained roads. And Curb Splitter has arrived. Hello, Curb. I'm glad you're here. And one of my channel members, Danny Banks, has arrived. I think your weather came to Georgia. Going to be mid-20s again tonight, but then it will be warm. Then it will warm back up. Yeah, I understand, Danny. I'm sure all of you have, seen the memes floating around social media of people in the South complaining over the last couple of days where they're saying, hey, all my friends in the North, your weather is drunk down here in my front yard. I'm going to need you to come get it. Because it has been fairly cold down in the Southeast this week. Georgia, even Florida. If I was reading, a friend of mine, not Rick, a friend of mine from high school, lives down there. I think he's just south of Tampa, but he's been complaining about how cold it was the last few days as well. And I try not to laugh at him because I know the difference. Having spent some time in the South, I know how quickly your blood can thin out. And if you're used to the temperatures that they get in Georgia and Florida, when it gets down to the 20s, it feels really, really cold to those people. And if you've seen any of my recent walking videos, not many people down in that part of the country have the big, heavy orange coat that I wear when I go out in this kind of weather. Looking at your land, have you chosen a location for setting up the trailer? No, not yet. I suspect that somewhere right in the middle is where I'm going to end up putting the shipping container. So when I get there, I will probably set the trailer up fairly close to the corner down here. Fairly close. Let me go ahead and get that comment off of here. Set it up fairly close to this corner down in here somewhere, because you can see looks like there's a little bit of a driveway there where somebody's run off the road or not, but somewhere in there. Or, it looks fairly flat. I'll have to wait till I get down there and actually see if there's any undulations or any of that kind of stuff. But I know I will want, when I do eventually get a big water tank, I'll want that fairly close. Like if I put the shipping container right in the middle, I'll want the water tank like over here on the other side of that dark spot, so that until the rain roof is built and I have to have water trucked in, it'll be fairly close to the road so the truck doesn't have to get very far off the road to pump the water into the tank. But we'll see what happens. I wish I could tell you I had plans that far. I am now doing again what I did a year and a half ago in looking at what all is around close by for doing things like buying groceries and buying lumber and all that stuff. The good news, what I found is that the area around Terlingua has all of those things, but if I don't want to pay outrageous prices, then I'll have to drive the 60 some odd miles into Alpine to get some of those things. And Alpine is not a very big town, so I'll have to go elsewhere to get big box stores and things like that. So we'll see. Like I said, we'll see what happens. I'm still in the process of exploring everything that's in the area for where I might go to find things. Smart, sounds like you have some great ideas. Well, I've been thinking about this for a really long time. We'll see what happens. I eventually want to get a fence set up all the way around the place and dig some bathtubs to start planting some stuff. And I'm still toying with the idea of making this my last summer at the miniature golf course. But since Dave is planning on stepping away from it sometime in the next 5 years, I may come back one more time. We'll just have to see how it goes. But this particular area, it doesn't get, because of the mountains, as you can see in the pictures, and if I showed you the other views, there are mountains basically all around me. It doesn't get quite as cold here in the winter, and it doesn't get quite as hot in the summer because it's like an elevated valley near Big Bend National Park. So we'll just have to see how it goes and how quickly I can get things set up when I get down there. Oh yeah, lots of wildlife lives out there. There's rattlesnakes, and there's scorpions, and several other species of snakes. But there's also javelinas and wild boars and mule deer and some other stuff. In fact, in the regulations governing this area of land, they say it's perfectly acceptable to hunt anything that's on your own land. If you go to hunt on somebody else's land, you have to make sure you have permission from them. So basically anything that walks onto my 10 acres will get harvested. Are those greens? No. Those are probably just scrubs. This one might be a low spot. And they, because there's stuff growing there, there might be some lower spots there, but I keep forgetting you can't see my mouse. Here might be some, and the darker spots around the edges, it might be low spots, but I'm certainly not going to count on that. I will be building a big rain roof to catch rainwater to be used over the course of time. The one advantage to this spot over the other one, just by looking at the weather maps, this particular area averages 4 extra inches. So at the old property, I was dealing with making plans for about 12 inches of rainfall a year. This area is supposed to get about 16 inches. Hang on a second, I need a little sip of water here. But because of the increased rainfall, now it's not a lot. 4 inches is not really that much more rainfall, but I may not have quite as many sunny days, so I won't know this till I get down there. I may have to increase the amount of solar power I plan on using. I'll just have to wait and see how that goes. So glad you found this worked out because it seems like a wonderful area, and that has all the amenities you need, so you won't be having so much to do yourself continually. Well, I still plan on making it fully self-sufficient, but when I'm not self-sufficient, the biggest thing is water. I should be able to get my hands on water fairly easily because they have water stations scattered throughout this area where for 8 cents a gallon I can fill up my containers. I eventually don't want to have to use those, but if I need to, I can. Most of the South knows the weather's not an emergency until Waffle House closes and you can't get the four-wheel drive truck out of the driveway. Yeah, and that's part of living in this area. Part of the packet of information I got from this area when I got land there is that while they do maintain the roads to help keep them in drivable shape longer, you're supposed to not drive through ruts. You're supposed to avoid driving on them while they're wet, so that, if a big storm blows through and everything's wet, just sit tight for half a day while everything dries out to stop, to keep your vehicles from leaving trenches in the roads. Of course, they're not going to stop you from driving, but they suggest that you avoid doing that kind of stuff. Google says there is a Lowe's grocery store. I don't know where that is. Probably in Plains. Yes, there's tarantulas and there's wasps. There's going to be lots of fun stuff. And I'm okay with all of that. Because what do you see in this picture? Nobody else. Now, I do have some neighbors. If you were to go that way, north, and then back away from that mountain, there are, it's like 3 plots north and 5 plots to the east of me, which all of the plots are laid out in these 10-acre squares. You can see that this is a 10-acre square and there's another 10-acre square there, which makes each block, because one side of a 10-acre plot is 660 feet long. That makes it about, 1,300 feet between roads. So that would be, it's the better part of a mile to my closest neighbor. But there are some people there. Somehow I think water over there would be a rare event. Yeah. There's going to be rain. I mean, the area gets about 16 inches of rain a year, but I think flooding would be a rare event, and I'm not too worried about it. The bonus to this land is I may not even have to dig out a trench down 5 inches, because I know I'm in an area where there is no frost line. So I may just dig the foundation for my shipping container out just a couple of inches, lay down some plastic and fill it with gravel just to keep moisture. Not that there's a lot of moisture in the ground, but just keep moisture from coming up from the bottom, and to stabilize the ground a little bit where the shipping container is going to be, so that, 5-6 years down the road, it's not sitting there at an angle and I have to remember which way my bed leans and that kind of stuff. But we'll see how all that goes when I actually get down there. And Keto Carney Cajun is here, better late than never. Hello to you, Keto Carney Cajun. I'm glad you made it. Looks like you're an hour or two away from the border of Mexico. I lived in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and it was pretty nice weather, not as hot as Phoenix. Yeah. I actually don't think I'm quite that far. If you hit the if you Google search Terlingua, you'll see that it's actually fairly close. I don't know what kind of roads are there because the road that leads down to my property, Highway 118, goes into Big Bend National Park and stops. So there is no road straight down to the border from where I'm at. And I think it's mostly mountains right there. But I'll see when I get there. So, it'll be interesting to learn how you handle any of those big bug bites. I don't tend to get bitten by bugs. You know, I sit out at the miniature golf course, and I used to get eaten up horribly by all of the things that wander around a miniature golf course at night when the lights are on. But since turning carnivore, I have not gotten a single mosquito bite. Now, that's not to say that scorpions would not bite me if they got there or sting me, but all of my plans include making sure that both my trailer when I get there and the shipping container will be sealed to make sure that scorpions cannot get into where I'm living. That's why I'm, designing things the way I am and have been studying enough stuff on scorpion proofing your house and that kind of stuff that I feel fairly confident that I can keep the bugs out of my current living area. And, if I'm awake and walking around, I'll have my boots on. I'm just not that worried about it. I do have a lot figured out. There's a lot that all of the plans will go out the windows the second I step foot on the property. So we'll just have to see how it goes. And yeah, carnivore, absolutely tall cedars. I mean, there are all of those little things that nobody really told you about. A few people have mentioned that they don't sunburn as easy. Now, I've never been one that got sunburned because I've always been a little bit darker because I spent a lot of time outside as a kid. And even as a kid, when I did stay out too long and get a little bit of a burn, it always turned into tan overnight. So that, but the mosquito bites, nobody ever told me about that until my first summer back at the miniature golf course. I'm like, did anybody else not get bit by mosquitoes anymore? Because I haven't been bitten once this year. Yeah, it's been a really long time since I've felt a mosquito bite myself. Absolutely. Yeah. A friend of mine was bitten by a scorpion in the neck, thought she would die. She was surprised when she lived. Yeah, from what I realize, what I'm reading is that unless you have, much like, flu viruses and things like that go around, unless you're already ill from something else, scorpion stings are very rarely fatal. They hurt like heck, and you can be sick for a while, but from what I've heard, they don't normally kill people. I could be wrong, but I bet Granny Farrell knows more about that than I do. Yeah, scorpions sting rather than bite. Hey, Rick and Feral Grandma, and all you all. Thank you, Bob, for your great encouraging channel. You've really helped me. Wishing you a good day. Well, thanks for stopping by, Arlene, if you have to take off. I completely understand. Sitting around chatting for an hour is a long time. But thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a really good day as well. And I hope you have a great weekend. Let's see here. I believe they can do both as well as give a nasty pinch. Yes. Yeah, because they do have those little pincher thingies too. Like I said, I'm not that worried about it. I mean, because in general, scorpions and snakes and all those things, they don't want to really be around us any more than we want to be around them. They're just looking for places to hide. And if your house is sealed up so they can't get in, and you don't leave, one of the things why I'm not worried about snakes as much, because snakes eat mice. And mice are attracted by grains. Well, for the first couple of years, I'm not planning on having grains. Once I start growing stuff and feeding it to animals, perhaps. But I don't really worry about it because I don't do oatmeal and all of the different types of stuff that crumbs get dropped on the floor, and that's what attracts mice, because mice can smell crumbs, especially when you're in an area like this that has no food around. The pack rats and things like that can smell it from a long way off. But the only thing I'm going to be cooking on this land is beef and eggs. So hopefully that will keep down on the mouse population, as well as when I do install a water tank or any other water storage, I just have to be very careful to make sure nothing is leaking, because snakes like cool, damp spots to hide. In the wintertime, they might come out and sun themselves on a rock or something, but they like cool, damp spaces when it's really hot out. And that's when they're the most active. And now we actually have the big QQQ question. Have you ever noticed nobody has ever fallen off the carnivore diet by eating a head of broccoli or a fistful of carrots? That's funny. I actually kind of like carrots. I've never been a fan of broccoli at all. But carrots, I used to, I used to buy the mini carrots that were already peeled, the little ones that people like to put in salads and stuff. I used to keep a bag of those in the fridge, because if I got snacky in the evening, I could just grab a handful of carrots and munch on those. And carrots are not totally awful. I'm sure they have some anti-nutrients in them, but carrots are a lot like eating celery. There's not really much there. Oh, they have a host of arsenal up their sleeve. Yikes. Glad I live in the north where it's too cold for big bugs to live. Yeah, but it's too cold. The key words in that sentence are too cold. I'm very happy to, whether it's, whenever it ends up being, I'm reasonably sure, unless something really bad happens again, I'm reasonably sure that this is the last winter where I will have to deal with negative degree temperatures outside. I love when you give your 1% talk, because it so encouraged me to do a little more every day, and I'm 67 and needed the encouragement to keep up exercise and movement. Yeah, and it's it's very easy to do, but it's also very hard to do, if that makes any sense. Adding a little bit each day isn't really that hard once you get started. And that's where the whole discussion about motivation versus discipline comes in. We can all be motivated occasionally. We wake up some mornings and we're like, yeah, I'm going to rock it today. I'm going to get out there and do it. But we need to be consistent in what we're doing every day, even if we have to literally drag ourselves out of the house to go walk or step up onto our treadmill or our rebound pad or whatever it is we're using for movement, because the motivation isn't always there. But if we do it often enough, it will become habit. And then even on days we don't feel like doing it, we'll do it anyway because it's a habit. And once whatever movement you're doing or exercise you're doing becomes habit, you will then feel like you're missing out on something if you don't do it that day. And it becomes a lot easier to keep doing a little bit more. Hopefully that made sense. Most important thing I learned decades ago doing search and rescue in remote places: always check your boots before you put them on, not by sticking your hand in. Yeah, I've known that. And one of the best ways to keep critters out of your boots is to put them on a shoe rack that holds them upside down. You should still shake them before you put them on, but storing them upside down so that things can't crawl in there and hide as easily is a good thing to do. And of course, my boots will be inside. It's not like I'm going to leave them sitting outside beside the trailer. They'll be inside. But you still shake them out just in case before you put them on. Kind of like making sure there's no snakes in your bunk. Yep. That's an interesting question. I wonder if Feral Grandma knows how painful a scorpion pinch is. I don't know. And I don't know that I ever want to find out, but we shall see. Now, there are some chemicals that can be put down. I know I don't like the idea of using chemicals, but putting up a chemical barrier around, not the whole property, because that would be foolish, but physical barriers plus chemical barriers just around my living space makes a lot of sense when moving to an area like this, because as much as I'm going to be taking precautions, I still don't want to just volunteer to be stung by a scorpion or bitten by a rattlesnake just because I'm living in the desert. So taking a few precautions is still worthwhile. Your motivational talks have also helped me clean up areas where I was stuck and had too much stuff that I didn't use, gave a lot away, still working on that. Yep. And Granny says, have not personally been pinched by one, but I hear it's noticeable. They're strong enough to stay with something so they can line up a solid sting. Yep. And that's one of the reasons why, like I said, the physical barriers, we know they can't climb smooth surfaces. So besides putting up a ring of hardware mesh around the bottom of my trailer to keep snakes from getting underneath of it, I'm planning on using some glass panels to make a smooth wall around the bottom 1.5 feet of my trailer so scorpions can't climb up that as well. And of course, I've sealed the entire trailer. And when I put a pass through in the wall to run solar lines and that kind of, and my Starlink lines through inside the trailer, I plan on, besides getting one of those round pass-throughs that has the like bladder in it that lets stuff go, I will, once I get the lines run into the trailer, I will probably cut out a piece of mesh and put it in there and then seal the mesh in with silicone so that they can't get in and out that way as well. It's all about planning ahead and knowing what you need to seal up. Because, if you have just an opening that they can get through, they will get through it. But if you make it so that they can't even get to underneath the trailer or up on top of the trailer, you don't need to worry about them crawling through tiny little cracks that might be there in your sealant or silicone sealant, because they can't get to it to get through the cracks. Do I think it'll be 100% effective? No, probably not. I'll still probably find a scorpion or two here and there. But, you got to deal with it. Scorpions are little warriors. See here, I came inside the house and tripped over my cat. I've been watching your little cat on your videos that you put out there, Rick, and that's a very active little kitten you have there, and you probably just wanting to attack your feet as you came in. He probably was not intentionally trying to trip you. And that's a very good question, Rick. Isn't that what cats are for? And ducks eat scorpions. Yes, they do. And, the more I look at it, people are always talking about, well, what are you going to get first? Chickens or pigs or sheep or goats? I really think, provided I can get some kind, even if I have to dig it out by hand and just have a little like kiddie pool size thing for a duck pond, I really think chickens and ducks are where I'm going to go first when it comes time to put animals down, have animals on the property, because chickens eat a lot of stuff and ducks eat a lot of stuff. They both provide eggs and they both provide meat. So we'll just have to wait and see when that comes. And of course, once I'm down there permanently, I'll have, a couple of cats and probably a dog or two as well. We'll just have to wait and see. I've never actually kept pets because I've always been, besides being a truck driver and never being in one place long enough to keep a pet, and I've never been one of these people that would take a dog with me on the road in the cab of the truck, because that just always seems like a lot more work than I want to sign up for. I've also been leery of having pets because, well, I killed a fake plant once. So I don't think I want to be responsible for something that's actually alive. And he says, when we lived in Kirkland, New Mexico, up here in the northwestern New Mexico, we had a lot of snakes, but they weren't rattlers. But I would get a rake or a shovel and throw them over the fence. We lived by pasture. Yeah, and, as long as there's nothing right there on the homestead for where a snake can get shelter or food, it may pass by, but it's not going to stick around if there's nothing to eat and nothing to drink and no cool places to hide, which is how I'm going to design everything. Muscovy ducks can take the heat, obviously, because they live down there in South Florida with you. And my cats have all lived a long time. Excellent. Excellent. And yeah, I'm, a couple of cats wouldn't be bad, and a dog wouldn't be bad. I did see a funny one about dogs the other day. Hopefully I can describe this properly. It was a top 10 list of aggressive dog breeds. And the first 9 spots said There are no such thing as aggressive dog breeds. It's what the owners train them to do. And then, of course, the number one aggressive dog breed at the end of all that was Chihuahuas. I thought that was funny. Anybody that has owned a Chihuahua, sorry if you're watching this, Leanne. I know you like Chihuahuas, but those little yappy dogs are really aggressive to people that aren't their owners. I have aggressive ducks. Yes, I've seen some of those aggressive ducks. The Quero Taco Bell. I don't know what that's supposed to mean other than a Taco Bell commercial. But we're down under the 10-minute mark here. We got about 9 minutes left on today's live. So if you have any last-minute questions or comments or topics, be sure and get those in now. To recap, for those of you that came late, the opening thing that I talked about today was make sure you talk to your congressman and let them know that you're not okay with, shall we call it, anti-emissions for large ruminant animals. Those drugs were just approved in certain areas, not in this country, but overseas, for use in dairy cattle. And just let people know that we don't really want that to happen here, because I think there are a lot of things, as I said in that video where I danced around this issue quite a bit, I think if those were the problem, then how is it that this entire section of the country that I live in, that used to be, used to have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of bison roaming freely in huge herds? I think they would have caused a problem then. But what do I know? I'm just a retired truck driver. That's cool that you've got your plans laid out. We have a mini dachshund and feed feral cats around us, and one of them is so friendly. Rick says we need to give out emissions for vegans. Yes, and that was the humorous comments that came in. Rather than testing those drugs on anything in our food chain supply to see if they really work, you should just give them to vegans, because they basically eat grass and fart, just like certain animals that we're talking about. Did I say that out loud? I certainly hope not. But yeah, and remember, as the other topic that we talked about is that we don't have to exercise to lose weight. In fact, if you have to exercise to maintain your weight, you're probably doing something wrong in your diet. That being said, putting on as much muscle as you can will help you maintain, because it's harder for the body to maintain muscle than it is for it to maintain fat. So while you don't have to exercise to lose fat, I highly recommend it, and it certainly can't hurt. I have a 15-year-old Chihuahua who was a yappy girl in her younger years. Good. Excellent. Yeah. That's funny, Rick. That is really funny. They need to drive the flatula backfire car. All right. Yes, I'm really praying God bless us and our country and our animals and what we eat. We need our health. Yes, and we'll see what happens. I mean, we have a new person taking over the Department of Health and Human Services in January. It will be interesting to see what happens, and how far he can get, considering some of the things he'll be looking into are some of the things that his dad and uncle were looking into, and we know what happened to them. Bob, since you're planning on having water available for critters, you may end up belonging to the local cat before you know it. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, a 70-year-old who's in great shapes. Have you seen that video that's been floating around social media of him doing pull-ups? Ain't nothing wrong with that guy health-wise that we can see. And I'm not making any comparisons or denigrating the person who currently holds the position that he will be taking over, but the contrast is stark. Yes. Scorpions sound like you're ready for a boil. I don't know if scorpions are even edible. I'm sure they are, but no, I have no desire to have a scorpion boil. Just like I'm not really those bugs you pull out of the river down there, Keto Carney Cajun. I'm not really interested in those either. And Rick says he has cooked scorpions. Okay, well, that's interesting to know. Come on out and catch them all to your heart's content on my land when I get down there, Rick. Bring your bobcat with you when you come. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, the crawdads. Yeah, I've never really been interested in those either. I have a Chihuahua. They are what happened when piranhas crawled out of the primordial ocean. That's funny, Farrell. That's very, very funny. They are vicious, nasty little dogs. I've cooked a lot of crawdads. Yeah, I'm sure you have. I've never actually, well, I spent that 1 year in New Orleans and just never really interested me. But I know if you grow up in an area where there's a lot of them, that there are a lot of people that cook them a lot of different ways. But all this talk about food is making me hungry. I've got some leftover roast sitting in the fridge that I'm going to slice up into chunks and put them in a cast iron skillet with a stick of butter and let them get brown all over and have crispy roast chunks for my meal today right after this live stream. And then I'm going to go out and walk. Have you ever seen a Chihuahua fight with a Muscovy duck? No, I have not, but I'm sure you have, and I'm sure it is very entertaining. Stronger country, let us all get our fair shake, and God's protection too by his grace. Absolutely. Got a scorpion gumbo recipe for us, Rick. Yeah, see, there you go. A scorpion gumbo recipe. Sorry, just not interested. But anyway, we are coming to the end of it here. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Great week, great weekend. I have a video already posted that will come out tomorrow. If you happen to be a channel member, you can watch it now. It's already live on my channel for channel members. Other than that, I just want to say thanks for hanging out with me for an hour today, guys. It's been a lot of fun. I always enjoy these live streams, even if we don't really have a whole lot to talk about. Just hanging out with you guys and chatting is really the best hour of my week. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better, folks. Today, tomorrow, and every day. Have a great day. I will see you in the next one.